モンキー D ルフィ。
Konnichiwa and welcome to All Content No Filler, a podcast where we talk about various aspects of anime, from conventions to subs versus dubs, from voice acting to music. We've got you covered. I'm Char Friedberg.
I'm Carmen Cano.
And I'm Angie Morales.
So today we're going to be talking about how we've gotten into anime and what this show will cover in general. So this is our first episode of this podcast, and I'm very excited to start it with you guys.
Yay!
I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming.
Yep. Like, we've been planning this out since May.
Yeah, and it's finally happening. Okay, well, I don't know if anyone else wants to start by saying how they really got into it. Well, anime, of course.
Right.
So,
I got into anime a bit unconventionally. What ended up happening was there was a time in high school, well, let me say this, I sort of watched some Hayao Miyazaki movies off and on whenever my family would go to a 4th of July celebration, and there were some Hayao Miyazaki movies on. But I think the first anime that I ever technically watched is Ponyo, and I didn't really get it at the time. Like, it's something about it still feels off to me, but maybe if I watch it now, I might get it, as opposed to when I was watching it in 4th grade. But I really got into anime when I was watching this video on, like, best anime transformations, and I was looking for something out of the ordinary. Like, yes, you've seen the magical girl transformations and the charge up and become Super Saiyan transformations. And then number 5 on the list was the Titan transformations from Attack on Titan. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you injure yourself to become a giant humanoid thing. That's awesome. So I started to, like, learn a bit more about it, and I was watching Attack on Titan Abridged on YouTube. There are still 3 versions of Attack on Titan Abridged, like 3 famous ones that are on YouTube. One of them is 1 episode by Team 4-Star. We will get more into Abridged stuff later, I promise. And that 1 episode from Team 4-Star was hilarious. Another covered all of the first season. It's called Abridged on Titan, and it's by Stefan Krosex, who now works for Team 4-Star. And then the other one was A Slap on Titan. And that is hilarious and very lowbrow humor. So I would say that's not safe for work if you do want to watch it in your own time. It is definitely a funny one. But after I did that, I got into Attack on Titan, started watching the 2nd season because I understood what happened in the 1st season, thanks to the abridged Attack on Titans that I was watching. So after the 2nd season was over, I'm like, okay, what do I do now? Started watching One Punch Man, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Code Geass, Cowboy Bebop, a whole bunch of other classic anime, and then that got me to where I am today, which is an anime lover, a very proud anime lover, and yeah. I don't know why I just ended it like that.
Yeah, sometimes, the conversation just kind of flows that way. And like, when you talk about unconventional, I guess I kind of had, like, the stereotypical one. I started when I was, like, real tiny. I think I remember seeing, like, an episode of Digimon when I was, like, in elementary school. And I remember, like, every Saturday, I think it was Kids WB, I remember wanting to watch, like, Digimon, like, when they got through Season 1, Season 2, and then I think I stopped somewhere around, like, Season 4 because I kept missing episodes or whatever. Didn't pick up anime again until my best friend and I were watching AMVs on early YouTube. I am an old fart. So, I remember specifically Inuyasha, AMVs, and then I think Full Metal Alchemist, the 2003 version. And then we started watching episodes of Inuyasha on, like, Toonami and Adult Swim when, like, they were at, like, midnight hours. Like, I think it was 11 p.m. midnight is when they started doing their anime run. And that's kind of how I got into it. Like, back in high school, it wasn't, like, one of those things where you could openly talk about unless it was, like, Pokemon or Dragon Ball or I think it was Digimon. Those were, like, your big three that you could talk about and not be weird. But then, like, the Naruto kids came out, and it was, like, a whole thing. It was fun to actually see the culture kind of shift and do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
but
that
we'll
is
talk
something
about that later.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is something, we will bring this up a bit later, but one of the people that we talked to at Otakon 2023, his name is Juan Felipe Sierra. He is the Spanish voice actor for Todoroki, and one of the things I remember him saying in the interview he did with us was when he was in school, it was weird for him to talk about liking anime, but now it's become a bit more natural, and he is a big fanboy, so he likes being able to talk about it now.
Yeah, just how you guys say it's like kind of normal now. I was ashamed of it. I will admit that. Not like, oh my gosh, like actually, yeah, just like that. Yeah. I would watch like little bits of anime, like you guys mentioned. Like I didn't realize it was anime back then, but like Pokemon and stuff, like I would see it, but it really didn't catch my interest until about high school. And I started off with like a really like serious one. Like it wasn't really wholesome. It was called Death Note, which is really popular today. And I just remember, like, it was so good that I binge watched it. Like, I think it was like spring break. I was just in my dark room all day watching this show. And I'm just like, this is so good, but it's also a cartoon. Like, that's how I saw it. So I was like, this is not something I could talk to my friends about. And I had this one friend. I still have this friend. His name is Artie. He's great. And he was always really open about his love for anime. And he was like, well, you shouldn't care what other people think about it. And obviously, like, when I got to college, I saw that more people were into it. And it really wasn't, like, a weird thing. And I started caring less of people's opinions. So next thing you know, like the pandemic happened and everyone had just a little bit more free time. So I just started watching like more shows. Like, oh, I got into Attack on Titan, and that's when I was just like, wait, what are these big things? Like it was, they were like, to me, they were so ugly. Like they made me angry looking at them. And every time they got killed, I was like, yes. But then like, obviously, like the season finale was just this past weekend. And if you know, you know. It was much more deeper than Titans. But yeah, like my love grew so deep that I also wanted to visit Japan and see where like this even stemmed from. Or like just to see if like what I would see, for example, in like Sailor Moon, like for example, how now it's more normal that we wear masks when we're sick. But like I remember like Sailor Mars, she was like wearing a mask and she's like, sorry guys, but I'm sick. And I'm just like, wait, so you wear a mask when you're sick? And it didn't dawn me like this is something that's been like they would do from a long time ago. Like it's part of their culture. So it was just interesting to also see that over there, even though it might also play a part with COVID and everything. But it was just like, oh, people really do just casually wear masks like when they don't feel well. But that's just like one part of my trip. But yeah, that's how
I was going to say that was one part of your trip. What were the parts about traveling to Japan that really stood out to you?
Well, I will tell everyone, prepare for that flight. That flight is very, very long.
How long was it?
It was almost 15 hours. So like I'm in DC, so we went from DC to Canada, Toronto. Was it Toronto or was it Montreal? One of those two places. And then from there, you go to Narita. That's where the airport's at. Even though most people say to spend the extra money to go to Haneda, because it's right in central Tokyo, whereas Narita's like an hour away. So like depending on what time you land, you might have trouble getting transportation. So, like, you can always call a taxi, but taxis are really expensive in Japan because they don't really have Uber like we do. So, you have the Uber app and you place an order to get an Uber, but it's still a taxi at the end of the day, and they go by taxi rates. And they can really pile up because there's no other form of transportation. But besides that, like, once I got there, I perfectly got there during the day, so it wasn't like I was struggling. The the first thing I wanted was food. Like, I was just like, I'm so hungry because this flight was so long. I got lucky that my flight there, I didn't have a person in the middle. Like, me and the guy were like, oh, this is awesome. And he was like, hey, I'm sorry if I pass out because I just drank a ton of melatonin so he could go to sleep. And like an hour into the conversation, I was talking and I just see him. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he did mention this to me, right? But I personally can't sleep on flights. Like, I just can't sleep. Like, some people, and then we had, like, this couple in front of us. They kept walking around the plane. Like, the flight attendants kept having to tell them, like, hey, like, can you sit down? Because there are points where you can't get up because of turbulence. But they were just, like, stretching and, like, kind of waltzing around. Like, if it was, like, a house. It's kind of funny. But anyways, like once I got there, I would say I was overwhelmed because I didn't know. Like, I've never been there, so I was like, okay. And I went by myself. That's another thing. I didn't go with another person, so like it was all on me. So I was like, all right, I did my research, but I don't think I did just enough research because where exactly am I at in this airport? And then, but everyone's also really nice over there and they're helpful. Like, a lot of people did know English. And even so, I had the Google app. So I was just letting people kind of like, sumimasen. Like, I knew, like, excuse me to, anime. Because there's certain words that you just hear a lot. And you're like, naturally, like, sumimasen or gomenasai or ohayo gozaimasu. Like, I just learned, like, very basic terms to kind of get me through. But everyone was really nice. And then I got on the Skyline train. I don't even know what it was, but it was like an hour-long ride. And I thought I was staying in Shinjuku, but I was staying in a different place that was farther off. And it was raining, so I had to walk like 12 minutes with my bags. Finally get to my Airbnb, and I like pass out. But it was just an experience. It was very humbling. I will say that right now. It was very humbling, but I would do it again. I actually plan on doing it again in like a year or so. Just got to save up the money because it is a little expensive. Well, the flight is, but everything else there is not expensive at all. Like the food, yeah.
So did like watching anime, specifically because we talked about before the podcast, you watching like sub more. Did that like help you? Did you know like Japanese going into it?
I was doing Duolingo, and it did help with a lot of like I like learned the basics of numbers or fruit or just like random term, like not random terms but specific terms, like toilet wa doko desu ka, like where is the bathroom? And like even though I'm probably not saying it fluently, like they knew what I was saying. Mm-hmm. Like they at least were like, okay, she's making an attempt, and they get very, very excited because they feel more comfortable. Well, you know what would happen a lot of times, especially the day that I wore a kimono, people thought I was Japanese. So like I would start off like with the sumimasen, like to say hey so I could get help with something, and then they would just full on talk to me in Japanese. I was like, hold on. I think we're a little I think you're confused here. I would be like, English, and they're like, oh, okay. And then like we would both have to pull out, I don't know, they had like these little buttons that they would speak into, and then it would translate it and then say it, like you would say it back, and I would usually just type it in Google Translate and just let them know, like, I'm, like, the train station, for example, I don't really get on trains, so I didn't know that you have to put a ticket to exit the train station. So I was telling the worker, I was like, I'm just trying to get out of here. And he was trying to explain to me so bad, insert your ticket. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to put my ticket into anything, because I'm thinking, like, I need this ticket for something else.
Yeah.
And I think he got so frustrated with me, he just let me through, so it messed up my perception of everything else. Like after that, I thought that I could just walk out and tell the workers, hey, I just need to get out, and they're like, no, you have to put that ticket in there. And I was just like, and then someone, like another tourist was like, yeah, you actually exit by putting your ticket, because it's making sure that you paid the proper amount to get to the destination, because if not, you do have to pay the ticket difference. And that's another thing. Well, I don't think you can get it now for the same price, but I would totally get a JR pass going there, because it's convenient, because you just tap, 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 and everything kind of prepaid for, versus me that I didn't have a JR pass. I had to constantly charge my card. And even at that, they don't accept credit cards or anything like that, so you have to pay everything in cash. And like, you're kind of like, I was limited on cash, so I was getting stressed out, especially if you're in a rush or you're trying to catch that last train. It's really inconvenient. I had to take a taxi at one point because
That's like the exact opposite of how things are here, where like a lot of places are doing like cashless stuff now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're trying to become more cashless, but I feel like that's more in like city-based places like Tokyo, versus like when I went to Hiroshima, and there's like a chain restaurant called Ichiran, and they have one, like they have some everywhere in Japan. But in Tokyo, you could pay with a credit card or Apple Pay. But when I went there, they were like cash only. And it was just like, oh, thank God I had cash. But like, if you come from Tokyo to Hiroshima, you're going to be like, oh, okay, like I'm good to go. But you need to remember that they're just now becoming a society that accepts more cashless payments. Whereas before, like, you couldn't even use a credit card. Like, and I would say exchange your money at the airport too. They have the best rate.
I'd believe it.
Yeah.
No, actually, I thought it was going to be opposite, because the airport, that's where everyone would kind of go naturally to get it changed. Yeah. But I learned that because when I was going to other places, I was like, why is the exchange rate so low? But you're in Japan, and who knows? I was like, when am I going to come back? Like, I don't know that. So I didn't really care. Money wasn't really an object until I paid for that $275 steak.
Oh my God.
I still can't get over.
At some point, when we talk about like food and stuff, you got to tell that story. That's wild that you paid that much
and
for
I
a steak.
will show the picture gladly that the lady made me take, because I had no idea that she was asking that, because she was like, this girl just paid for a $270 steak without her knowledge. But yeah.
Oh my God. That sounds like so much fun. One day I'll get out there, or like live vicariously through all your pictures. But
I think for now that's going to be what we're doing, just living vicariously through your stories and through all of the pictures and all the videos that you guys will also be seeing from the trip.
Yeah, because we've got a few episodes coming out about that. What else are we gonna talk about? What's the podcast going to be about? Let's go into that. What does all content, no filler mean?
So all content, no filler essentially means there are going to be... So first off, let me say filler is essentially something that the anime does to try and blow it out and not necessarily catch up with the manga, but make sure they're more on pace with the manga, versus if they had everything ahead of time, they wouldn't have to do that. So a good example of filler is Naruto, because you have all these arcs that are not necessarily relevant to the story, but it's Studio Pierrot trying to catch up with the manga, and when they've caught up with the manga, they're like, shoot, we have no more story to do, and we can't take however many months off. So what do? We come up with this filler arc. So we're going to have none of that in this podcast. Everything is going to be focused on something. We're not going to fill it with any bloating or anything that is unnecessary.
No fluff.
No fluff. So, the next episode is Anime Terminology 101. So we're going to define terms that will be used on the show a bit more. So that way, when we dive into more stuff, you guys can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you've never watched anime before, that'll be a good introduction to definitely watch. And even if you're, I'd say, a seasoned veteran, because, like, for the longest time, and I still get it confused, I don't know what shoujo means. I know what shonen means. The types of anime I still get confused, and I've been watching for at least a little bit.
Yeah, then the episode after that is diving a bit more into anime terminology. It's talking about the different genres of anime and more defining of terms that will be commonly used on the show.
That'll be fun too. What are you guys most excited to talk about?
Me, as an amateur voice actor, I am personally excited to talk about voice acting in general, subs versus dubs. Yes, we're going to get into that age-old debate. And we are also going to talk about media that are inspired by anime. So that will include anime TikTokers like King Chris and Brown Bakugo. It could talk about Death Battle with some of their anime-inspired battles. We're going to talk about a lot of things on this channel. And other thing that I really hope will happen, fingers crossed, I am manifesting this, is that we will get in contact with some voice actors who are in the industry and ask them a couple of questions about that. We will also be going to conventions and be able to do Q&As there. So if there are any questions that you, the viewers, will want to ask anyone, then please feel free to put it in the comments or just email us, let us know, or contact us.
Well, personally, as a foodie myself, and also because I just feel like I can't really talk about my trip in one sitting. That's why even just like trying to explain how it felt like getting there, I felt like it was more to it, but I feel like I don't want to spend the entirety just talking about that. So that's why I also want to like, and I took a bunch of pictures and videos, and depending on what we talk about, like I'll insert little pictures, just trying to kind of give you a visual of what I'm talking about. Like when, for example, like the food there, like you'll see that they're self-serve restaurants, not really self-serve, but like you don't actually have to talk to anybody to get your order in. And you're like, how does that even work? Exactly. Like I'll show you. But like for me, like I just really love food, and I really like to see like the different type of like I was gonna say different type of cultures, but this is just about Japan. But there's a variety of foods that I had never even thought about trying before. Like I had fish innards. Wasn't the best experience because I went to like a revolving sushi spot, and I thought for some reason it looked good. I was like, oh, this looks good. And that was my very first sushi bite, and I was like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't something I was like looking to eat. But then I had, what did I have that was like, trying to think right now, like what I had that I didn't, I think it was little baby octopus with quails inside. I never thought I would like it, and they had such a long line for it, and a lot of locals were there, and I was like, all right, maybe I'll give it a shot. And they also had like these little baby beers that were so cute, but I don't drink beer, so I was like, I'm not gonna get it. But when I tried it, it was actually really good. But like, if I was back home, like I would never like get that on my own. But I'm just like, why not? And then that's what I want to talk about, just like different kind of foods.
Yeah, speaking of food, you brought some Pocky.
So as you can see in front of us, so in America we have Pocky, and maybe you can find other flavors besides the typical strawberry, chocolate, or cookies and cream. I was just at Costco and I saw them on sale there. But Japan has exclusive flavors that not everyone can get. And I brought some for us to try. I've already tried them, but Carmen hasn't. Char can't try it
because I have dairy allergies.
So unfortunately, a lot of the snacks in Japan are made with dairy. I didn't really think about that beforehand. So I'm so sorry, Char.
That is totally fine. I will live vicariously through the descriptions from you guys.
But I would say that it's a great flavored Pocky, so I don't know if you can imagine what type of taste that is. I've already like I said, I already tasted it before. But Carmen has not, so I would like to see her initial reaction.
I'm 100% in the same boat you are, Angie. I like trying new things. So when you brought this into my office, I'm just like, yes.
Itadakimasu.
It smells like grape.
It is grape.
It's got like that. Oh. Oh, that's weird.
Bucky ASMR.
You don't get, like, the grape flavor until you, like, swallow it. It has a really weird aftertaste. But, like, it's really good.
I know. Let me eat mine too.
It, like, the aftertaste tastes like grape, but when you're eating it, it, like, tastes like a berry. Like, it's weird. I don't know how to describe it. Like, the biscuit's definitely a lot better than the stuff you get, like, here in America. And I don't know if that's, like, just because of the retailer, but...
Oh, I'm being messy. When I first tried it, it kind of reminded me of, like, grape soda.
Maybe that's what it is.
Like, imagine putting grape soda over a piece of, like, biscuit. And it kind of getting soaked up. That's personally how I feel like it tastes, which had my brain confused because I thought I was going to have more of a milky vanilla taste.
Yeah.
And that's not what I got at all. So my brain was a little confused.
I thought it was going to taste like grape juice. You know, like it has that strong, like, grape flavor. But this is really mild. I actually really like it. Thank you.
I was going to say, you kind of finished it already.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, you
God,
put something in front of me, and, like, if it's, like, in my hands, I'll be like, oh, hey, yeah. I'll just casually go at it, like,
Mindless eating.
pretty much.
Yeah, because one thing I will tell you that the fruit over there is much more different than American fruit. It is better and it is more expensive.
That's probably for a good reason.
Is it, like, bigger than what we usually get here?
Well, I only actually got to taste the strawberries, which are so freaking good because, one, you don't have to worry about little ants or bugs being in them because they're already naturally clean. You know how we have to kind of do the most here to clean them, but over there, like I was telling you guys earlier before we got on the podcast, that Japan is very big on making sure that everything that they're producing and giving out to the public is 100% like inspected, clean, nothing that will get anyone sick. So I can say this, especially having been there for almost 3 weeks, that like you can eat anything there with confidence, even if it's strange to you. Like that's kind of weird. Just know that they made sure it was clean and sanitary to the best of their extent. But yeah, the strawberries are just very good. They taste like candy. Like, that's how I would describe it. It's like a candied grape. And then I also had I know it's a Chinese. It came from China, like the hardened strawberries, like the one that they dip in hard sugar.
Oh, yeah.
That make a crunch. Mm-hmm. Oh, I had the grapes, too. I lied. I had the grapes, too. But they were just so juicy and flavorful. I don't know how to describe it, but it wasn't like, I feel like grapes here are kind of sour, or they're like,
yeah.
Or they don't really have a taste. They were just perfectly sour and sweet. And the strawberries were just, I don't know. They were great. Like, and when it's not even strawberries, it wasn't even strawberry season over there. So literally I was just like, I can't imagine like a fresh strawberry like during their strawberry season.
Oh, that would be so good.
Because if that's already good, then I can't imagine. Like I want to go to Japan in different seasons. I already went what I would say summer, which I would say don't go. Like, if you can kind of avoid summer, don't do it. I just wanted to make my birthday trip special. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go for my birthday. But it's still really hot in September. Like, I would say it cools down, like, towards October. And I would say go towards fall. I mean, I want to go next time for fall/winter because I heard that, like, even though they don't celebrate Christmas over there like we do, they do go all out for the holidays. As in, you know, how they get, like, a cake and they celebrate with Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's really weird, but that's literally how they celebrate Christmas in Japan. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just big into this kind of, like, where does this come from? Like, why? And you're just like, Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's not the same. I didn't have it, but off of what I had from their McDonald's, like, it's not the same. Like, the quality is just different. And they also have different menu items.
Yeah. Did you get the different menu items?
I had a shrimp burger, yeah. Oh. So it's like a burger that's crusted and the inside is, like, shrimp. And, like, the bun is softer. They put some, I don't even know what the sauce was. I was also, it was really late. It was like 2 a.m. and it was the only thing open. I mean, you could go to 7-Eleven or Lawson, but I wanted, like, hot fries.
Right.
Fries everywhere from
Yeah.
McDonald's taste about the same.
Yep.
So pretty good, though.
Yeah, I remember, I mean, for me, as someone with dairy allergies, I always see commercials for McDonald's, and I'm just like, why do the fries have dairy in them? Which is true. And the only food from McDonald's that I thought that really looked good was the One Piece special that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Darnell, if you could find the commercial of the latest One Piece McDonald's crossover, it's on YouTube. Like, when I saw some of the stuff on there, I was like, okay, that actually looks good.
I've never actually seen that commercial. That's why I don't know which. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's like, it's a chicken fried sandwich, essentially. And then there is a version of it that's like a rice version. Instead of a hamburger patty, it's rice cakes.
And this is in America?
This is in Japan.
Oh,
and it was
okay. Oh,
no,
I was like, we have rice cakes at McDonald's in
no,
America?
it was in Japan for a limited
I would go to
time.
McDonald's so fast.
No, me too. Rice cakes are... I like them in spicy sauce, but they're just so
Ooh.
good. But no.
Yeah, and I remember they had at the very end, they called it chicken tatsuta. So Luffy sang the jingle, chicken tatsuta.
I'm surprised they didn't have like a triple burger for Luffy, knowing that he loves meat.
Yeah.
Good.
Like, that would make more sense, because I'm like, chicken? Is that really, like, Luffy? I mean, he likes chicken, but meat is really his, like, forte. So I was just like...
We have our little Luffy doll here.
We took it from Joyce. We're sorry. If you see
Yeah.
this podcast, just know that we had to do what we had to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
For decoration purposes, we will return it.
And
We'll
then
bring
we
some of
also
our own
have
stuff later. Headless Momo
With
Appa
Appa.
figurine. Yeah, I'll fix that at some point.
Some point being...
I've had that for like 2 years and haven't fixed it.
Maybe by the next episode, she'll have it ready.
Fingers crossed. We are hoping to release these episodes monthly.
Yeah. And with that, like, I hope that you guys, if you have any ideas or anything you want to talk about or anything that you want us to, like, you know, do more research on, like, we'll do it and, like, we'll talk about it. Like,
Yep.
if you want something specific, like, about, if you, at least for me, if you want to know something specific about Japan or, like, traveling to Japan or what tips I would give out, like, as a first-time traveler, especially a solo traveler, like, you can reach out with those specific questions. Other than that, I will be giving out little tips here and there depending on what we talk about in that episode of the podcast.
Yeah, for me, again, since I am an amateur voice actress online, you can check me out. My YouTube handle is Shara Zorel. That's CHARAZOR-EL. And I've worked with a lot of cool people in the past. If you have any questions about voice acting or some of the voice actors that I've met, please let me know, and I would be more than happy to talk about that.
Yeah, and I think with that, I think we're wrapping up our first episode. Thanks, guys, for coming out, and we hope to see you soon.
Jana!
Janet.